Welcome to today's panel discussion. Today we have four amazing and tenacious women, and you have me, Ritika, your moderator. So, according to research, women led companies generate higher revenues than those owned by men. It also shows that women are more effective as leaders and are better at creating jobs. Not to create a comparison, but to ask a question: what sets them apart? To inquire not just what makes a businesswoman, but what businesswoman does a what business leader does a woman make? Let's learn about leading with the heart with these incredible women who are changing the rules of the game every day with their work. Along with that, we will talk about how, for many during the pandemic, starting a venture, a small business, or a side business has been the answer to their inner calling to create something meaningful, impactful, creative, or revolutionary. And the barriers to entry have only been reducing because people share their insights and their knowledge, which makes it easier to think about starting a business. Statements such as "चल यार business शुरू करते हैं" or "let's start a business" is such a realistic response to the pain points of society that individuals experience. Where there's a need, there's a venture. And where there's a venture, there's a passionate entrepreneur hustling to make it possible. Simultaneously, there is the reality that there is immense doubt in starting or restarting a business in the pandemic. The losses suffered were unpredictable to many, and understandably, people are afraid and unsure of what lies ahead. What are the reasons, if any, to be optimistic about starting a business? We will also lightly touch upon if the businesses that grew in the pandemic are going to sustain in the future. And what are the success stories of entrepreneurs, of women entrepreneurs who emerged from this crisis? With that said, I think now it's time to call upon our panelists to the spotlight. Balancing family, being passionate about social causes, and running a business, these women are doing it all. So just tune in and find out. I would first like to introduce our first panelist, founder and mentor at Global Women's Entrepreneurship Network, GWEN. Sneha Mohan has 15 years of experience in corporate training, entrepreneurship, and content writing. She completed her MA in creative writing from Kingston University, London. Her calling to be a writer was deafening, so she quit her 9 to 5 job in 2007 to write her first novel. Career for her took a turn towards entrepreneurship, however, and she started Word Quotient, a content writing company, and ran it for 6 years. With motherhood, she took a 3 year sabbatical, after which, in 2017, she was driven to start Global Women's Entrepreneurship Network, through which she encourages women from all sections of society to choose entrepreneurship and provides the support to sustain that decision through education and community. And Sneha is still working on her first novel. Welcome, Sneha. So happy to have you here.
Thank you so much, Ritika. I'm really happy to be here.
So glad. Next up, we have the founder of EcoSansar, founded 5 years ago with the aim of bringing sustainable products from the interiors of the country within the reach of the urban market. They have tied up with various artisan groups to promote their arts and craft along with encouraging arts and handicrafts and sustainable alternatives. EcoSansar has also developed a return and refill logistics system in the retail industry to encourage a circular economy and to help urban consumers live zero waste without compromising on convenience. Can't wait to hear your insights. Gayatri Joshi, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here.
Awesome. Next up, our third panelist is the founder of Pay It Forward. She has always enjoyed learning, be it from books, courses, or people, and she had absolutely no background in finance. But a push from her friends led her to join a course in personal finance, which turned out to be a life changing decision. She taught the subject, which only grew her passion, which is when she realized that the importance of spreading this to many people and to empower people to handle their finances. Lack of a financial background, experience in teaching and communications, and keenness to spread her learnings really helped our next panelist, Preetha Wali, to keep the sessions light and informative. Pay It Forward conducts financial wellness sessions for corporates and colleges, and their aim is to reach people to teach the subject that otherwise is not taught. Welcome, Preetha. So happy to have you.
Thanks, Ritika. Thanks for having me over.
Finally, our last panelist is a filmmaker, co-founder, and head of operations at Incredible Roots, which is a women-led organization started in 2009 with Kripi Sharma and her mother Renuka. Coming from a third generation of avid travelers from her family, she brings to use all her experiences and the vast community of locals she interacts with to come up with tailor-made offbeat itineraries. She is an advocate for equal travel opportunities for all and has worked extensively to make travel, as well as the concept of travel, safer for women. Kripi Sharma hopes to bring her travel stories to life on screen through filmmaking. Welcome, Kripi. So happy to have you.
Thanks for having me here.
These are our panelists. Looking at you all, I am nothing but excited to start our conversation. So, we'll begin. We'll go right into the first round. This is an open round. In this, I'll ask you one question and anybody can just unmute and answer. If you can talk about what led you to start your own venture, anybody go ahead, take the stage.
Yeah, I can speak about it. Yeah. I'm very passionate about what I'm doing. As you can see, I quickly press the unmute button. So the point is, we started about 5-7 years ago. We started this organization. The idea, like you introduced us, introduced me. I've got two partners, and the idea is to explain financial wellness. Ensure people have financial wellness. Explain all about how to plan their finances. Now, we started this. In fact, I'd like to throw a question to anybody who can answer in the chat box, probably. Who teaches you how to plan your finances? That's a question we start off all our sessions with. And we really want people to think about that question. Who actually teaches you to plan your finances? I can see there are a lot of women participants here, but this is a question that is very valid for male participants too. For the simple, let me just see if there's anybody answering the question. Anybody? My own expenses. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, okay. Actually, that is very true, So you end up learning on the go. So we discovered this many years ago, and more so we discovered this more so about women, because we, coming from the same background, realize that nobody teaches you and someone needs to teach you a few basics around it. And largely where it comes from is either you're trying to save tax, or parents are asking you to buy a house or some gold and things like that. Or maybe, someone said, Bitcoin, go and invest in Bitcoin. And then everybody runs and invests in Bitcoin. So the whole thing is like, because you don't know, you've not been taught this in a structured manner, you find a lot of mistakes that people make. And if you just look around, and maybe some of you here itself, in deep financial distress for the simple reason that you didn't know how to go about it. You didn't know how to plan it. Okay. And the other thing where women are concerned, what we found is if there is any problem in the family, the first person who actually really suffers is the woman. I mean, there are many reasons, and I won't go into that. So we are trying to motivate women to get into understanding personal finance. We're trying to motivate youngsters to get into the habit of saving, to be aware of things. So all this we discovered, there's nobody really doing it. Actually, that's the reason why I threw that question. Where information comes from is the finance world, but that might not necessarily be a good idea to get it from. The good place to get the, it's kind of, it's a conflict of interest, right? So ultimately you're a little worried whether you're getting the right information and things like that. So that's how we started. And now we are not restricted to corporates and colleges, but I mean, if you all want, I can just start off a session right here. It's like just about anybody who wants to know anything around personal finance, and we don't sell anything. And we happen to be, conducting sessions across the world. In fact, thanks to the pandemic, we've done webinars in US, UK, and other countries, and discovered if the story is the same. If that's any consolation to anybody here, the story is the same across the world. Yeah, so that's how we started.
Wow, that's really interesting.
I think for most women entrepreneurs who start a business based on passion, it generally stems out of a personal experience and a personal need that, where you felt the need for something like that and you couldn't find it yourself. And generally that is what takes you forward. And then you feel like, okay, if nobody's doing it, let me do it. So basically, that's how also EcoSensar started, because there was nobody doing zero waste. There were quite a few people doing, bringing handicrafts from the rural to the urban, but they weren't enough. So I guess that's a common factor, I would say, that a personal need is what basically drives you to the decision of taking it up or starting it out as a business.
Yeah, I would say the same thing because even for me, it started from personal need. I mean, my first foray into entrepreneurship was completely by chance. I didn't plan it at all. I quit from the corporate world to write my first novel. And then, I needed that, the habit for, the craving for that financial independence, right? So I really missed that. So I started freelance writing. And then that became a writing company in a little while. So it was completely unplanned. And then it's then that I realized that, I needed community because working from home, it was just so lonely. So that's how the idea for GWEN was born. But I didn't do anything about it then. It's only 10 years later after I became a mother and all that, again, that loneliness crept in and, I felt the need for community again. So just like Gayatri was saying, yeah, absolutely. Personal need is what. So I started with networking events and I had to explain what a networking event is because most women are like, what do we do? So we all come to this place and then what do we do? I said, you meet strangers and you talk to them. It's a safe space. It's only women. And then it was like, they all were lit on fire. The events were so amazing. I mean, yeah. So yeah, personal need really.
For Renuka and I, the personal needs were a little different. We were going through a financial crux, and this was just my last year of college, as well as Renuka's last year of college. When I went to college at 45, she also decided to, formalize her education in travel and did a postgrad with kids just 2 years elder to me. And so after that, since we were already in a crux, I think there was no stopping. There was a whole lot of breaking barriers. My paternal side of the family was super orthodox. My elder cousins have had to leave their jobs to get married, like that orthodox. And so women of my mother's generation was obviously not like going to work at all. And here we were in a financial crisis and my mother was like ready with the thing and she just needed that support. So we just came together and we started off. And once we identified, so obviously traveling comes really naturally to us. She was 5 months pregnant with me and we were still in the snow hiking up in Himachal. So we've been traveling since then. So it's just like breathing for us. And in any case, people were, asking us to plan their itineraries and their travels. So it just came so naturally. And then we identified this major target audience for us, which was the educational trips, which are hardly educational. I mean, the highlight of the trips for students would be a DJ party locked up in a hall. Why do you have to go all that way to do that? So, and then when we were traveling, all we would see in the same places that we would be all throughout my childhood and even for like very recent would be white folks who were spending their retirement money in India. And the Indian people were just not there. Like nobody knew anything apart from Manali and Goa. And that's not what India was about for us. So we wanted to break that. And we thought the college students would be the best ones to venture out with, because right after college will be when they will start traveling on their own and spending their own money, making their own plans. And something that their parents and the school haven't been able to teach them about travel, like, how parents litter in front of their children. I don't understand how that's going. So we were trying to break all of those little things right when, we can nip it in the bud. And then it just we started it just as informally as possible. And then I had to quit my film career and get into it full time. Luckily, I would say we got to work with such amazing women because most of the best colleges in Delhi are all women colleges. So we happen to take up a huge chore because now we've picked this thing up of making them travel. So we did, and then we were teaching them what they were doing in theory, their feminist literature and all of that. We were making it practical. We were like, you're not going to wake up one day and the news is going to read that travel is safe for women from now on. You can take the local train now. You're going to do it, and we're going to make you do it. And it was challenging, and it's been amazing, from the parents to the teachers to the TTs to everybody understanding that women can do it, and this is how we're going to do it, and just leading by example. So it's been a great journey. And after that, it became a necessity. Like every time a parent came up to me and asked me, where is a male teacher, and I would like, we are 80 plus one person and one male teacher. Okay. And then, so it just became a thing, and it's been amazing. There's been no stopping since then.
Wow, that was... And Sneha, I also remember the first time that we met was for a networking meet, right?
Yes.
Essentially.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting how...
I know, I've met some amazing women, amazing women.
Yeah, and I'm sitting here today with you all. I feel really honored. So I think it's time we move on to the next round, which is the curated questions round. I will address certain questions to you. First question is, if someone is thinking of starting their own venture, what are the three, if you could summarize it, three essential elements that they would focus on? And according to you, Kripi, what do you think it is?
I think the first and foremost would be a vision. I feel like if you have a clear vision of what you want to do, what is the change that you want to bring, or what is the problem that you want to solve, that really sort of helps you. The second would be identifying sort of a niche, which is something unique to what is your solution, and what is your unique solution to that problem, and that really can be a driving force. And since it's a small business that we're talking about, I would say the third thing would be putting yourself out there. I feel like that is something that that is something that differentiates a large business from a small business, the story behind it. And the more honestly you can connect with your customer, I feel that really creates a bond that can go for a long way. And for any business, I feel a repeat customer is all that we are looking for. So if you can build that through your story, through your honesty, I think, those would be my top things that I would say.
So that's vision, honesty,
and connection. Connection. Yeah.
If anyone else has any insights on that, because what I see from that is the vision is, I feel like, the most important part. I mean, you set out for your venture, and you lay out the ways that you want to connect with someone, and then the impact that it can have, the way that you can even plan out what kind of impact you're going to have is, I think, really, really essential. Is there something that someone misses from these key ones that you feel is not obvious, but is something that is so necessary that you learn maybe later on in your career, in your journey?
Yeah, I think it's mental health. So if you don't have that sorted out, no matter how much passion you have, how big an impact you want to make, whatever great team you have, you may be having investment, none of that's going to matter. At the end of the day, it's how you feel and how you can motivate yourself to do the work and to stay creative, productive, impactful, all of those things. The bottom line is mental health.
I'd like to add two points, actually. One is, of course, like Kripi said, that the vision and that the word passion also to it, because you have to be committed to doing it even when you're going through the downs, The other one, which I find a lot of women struggle with, a lot of people, actually, a lot of entrepreneurs, is when they don't have a mentor or someone to bounce off their ideas with. So having a mentor in the beginning, if you are, even if you have partners, One is having a mentor, or second thing is even finding the right kind of partners. See, I can hook up with one or two people and start something just like that. But now that I've been around for 5-6 years, I know it's important to have the right kind of partners, because if you don't reach, I mean, those disagreements can really, take a toll on your business. However passionate you are about it, it's a partnership. So I think it's important, if you're alone, have a good mentor. If you have partners, have good partners who you at least 80%, I mean, all of us are different. At least 80% have the same kind of thinking, or have the same vision, at least, so that that ultimately your vision is what is important. It's above you or her. The last point being in this field of, financial wellness, I would like to add is, whoever gets into business, know a little bit around, balance sheet and PL account. What I find in conversations with a lot of women, especially women entrepreneurs, is that they shy away from understanding what they think is very difficult to understand, which is a balance sheet and PL account. It's similar to your home budgeting, actually, if you break it down that way. Without knowing, what I found is going after your passion can lead you into trouble later. Maybe not right now, but it could lead you into trouble later when you actually start growing, and then you don't know what's coming in, what's going out, especially when you have a product, and then you might actually be losing money probably in some way, So just being more aware of your balance sheet, so nobody else takes you for a ride either, because it's filled with a lot of people who might not just be guiding you the right way.
True. I mean, I was just going to continue on that, what Preetha said, to continue on the last point that you said. I would usually emphasize on gathering as much knowledge as possible before you take the first step. You do your homework on the paper. Your knowledge is very important, because when you start a business, there are so many aspects to a business to run it, from maybe planning your infrastructure, finances, or inventory. If you're a product business, there's so many aspects to it, and it is really important to put your head in and understand the taxes, the GST, how it works, and the paperwork. The first step is the paperwork, which needs to be clear. So that is one of the most essential points of an entrepreneur should look at. And knowledge is power, power is confidence. Even if you're going to be outsourcing part of your work to an expert, you need to know to ask the right questions. You have to know to understand what they're saying. So you have to do your homework before you get in touch with an expert to get what you want out of them. The basic knowledge of every aspect of a business is extremely essential, is what I would say.
I think I have two questions in mind right now. One is, how is it that you learned these things? How did that insight come to you to have the balance sheet, the PL account, and to know what the paperwork, what's that like? To have even the rest of the knowledge. What was that like for you? How did you learn it?
Yes, so for example, mine is a retail business, as an example, I would say. And in a retail business, you start off with, okay, I want to sell product A. What do I do? And it's just breaking down the steps. If you want to sell product A, I have to get it from somebody. I have to get it from somebody. Who is that person? How much do I pay him? And how much do I sell it for? So when I'm selling it, am I going to be paying taxes? So then you go and talk to a vendor and you ask how the process works. When you're going to be selling it, you're going to be paying taxes. So you go to a CA and ask them how the process works. So it's all about asking questions. And of course, the internet is filled with information. Really, there's so much that you can gain out of so many, blog sites and articles and entrepreneur blogs available on the internet. The whole world is on your screen. So there's no dearth of how you can gain the knowledge. It is about asking the questions freely, without any barrier. And I would say just shamelessly, you might look really stupid, but you need to know, right? And it's okay to be stupid. That's the first barrier you need to break off with. It's all right to look stupid. You have to know it, you have to know it. And if I'm going to know it from you, then please, can you help me? That's how you go about it. And as you keep preparing your plan on the paper, the questions keep coming automatically. You don't really need anybody to teach you what questions to ask.
Preetha, I know that you have had a long learning curve because you said that you had no experience in the field that you are working in right now. I have been egging to ask you since yesterday. How was that? Like, how did you go from having so little experience and now being able to advise other people?
So it came from me chancing upon a course actually, and I was kind of forced into going for that by my friend who wanted company actually. And then when I joined that course, it kind of just happened. This is about 14, 15 years ago, I'm speaking about. And when I joined the course, I was like least interested, but then I became interested in understanding, say, macroeconomy and, stock markets and things like that. And I never studied when I was in school, but I started studying a lot when I was in my 30s, So I really enjoyed the learning process, and then discovered actually that, how much it was required because of various aspects, like, going through the financial ups and downs when I was small in my parents' place. Many reasons when I discovered that there is a need for this. And of course, things did happen. I guess, sometimes they say, right, when you want something really bad, the universe makes it happen types. So it happened that I shifted to Bangalore, and then I started the classes here. And then the need came so much from the people who we approached. Basically, everyone has a story around finance. Anybody you speak to, they've signed the papers wrong, or they face some family issue or any such thing, right? Something has happened around finance. So we started learning about what is it that people need to know. There's a lot of stuff that we saw on the net and put everything together. And then we realized actually it's been complicated, but actually it's very simple. Like anything else, like you can teach, engineering or anything else, in a very simplified manner, but people have complicated it, or maybe we find it complex. So we broke it down, and, and then started when the more we read on it, the more simpler it became, because it's actually common sense. At the end of the day, all of us maintain budgets at home. It's not really very different when you put a few aspects in place. It's just that it's been not taught that way. So as we went along, we started developing it. Actually, if you ask me what I did in the beginning to what I'm doing now, it's pretty different, So we just developed it as we went along. And then, of course, the response from people was amazing. So I guess that's how that keeps us going.
Wow, that's amazing. I think I want to move to the second question that I had. When Sneha had mentioned mental health, it reminded me of how during the pandemic, a lot of businesses were really affected. And at the same time, a lot of people had started their businesses and entered this new world of learning. So, what is it like? I know for almost everyone over here during the pandemic, you have all been affected in a very differently adverse way. So, how was it like maintaining your mental health and your business and your family life during that time? If you could give even an anecdote or some stories, some success stories from your own personal business, anybody, and especially Kripi, as a travel agent, as a travel company, someone that makes itineraries for people that are at home. What was that like?
It was surprisingly quite well timed. So in 2019, we were finishing 10 years, and the market completely changed. Our vision was met, where when we started, Instagram wasn't there. And then suddenly in the middle, Instagram came, and there was a boom where everybody knew where to go on their own, and everybody's just traveling. So by 2019, where I would see 5% of kids behaving like they have never seen the insides of an Indian toilet, I had 10% later. 5 years down, there was like a 20%. Now, in 2019, the last batch of kids I took out, 100 out of 100% had not seen an Indian train from the inside. So for me to begin was so tough and was so challenging. I was feeling super frustrated. So I took a break. I was like, now we've met that vision that women need to get out and need to start traveling. There has to be something new. And I shifted to Bombay to start my film thing. And meanwhile, the pandemic happened. And thankfully, sort of, I was already prepared to like, because I was not relying completely on incredible routes. But then once film also stopped and this also stopped, so I was just like, now what am I going to do? And travel started picking up. But now there is an very interesting, crux that we are that point that we are at, where I want to be super sensitive to the places, to the people, to the communities who are very close to us, to the places that we make people travel to, because I can't have medical emergencies happening over there. The resources are very small, and I cannot not let my people travel because they've been like just stuck in their houses for so long. So we are moving across. We are now planning what we can do and how we can do in a more safer way. We are waiting for like more guidelines, more health guidelines to come out before we start that. Apart from that, there are other ventures. Like, of course, we can't rely on the group travel anymore. So we are coming up with smaller ideas of virtual traveling, where we are engaging people from those places to give a virtual sort of a tour to people. So that's going to be like a popcorn snack sort of a travel that we can offer till the time. So just coming up with newer ideas of what to do and how to do it in a more safer, because we can't really be there. I know 10,000 people who are actually right now also, because Kashmir travel has started and the people are just flocking there. And I'm like, what are they going to do if something happens there? Like, please think about the safety of not just your customer, but also like the people who are living there. It's a very strange time, but everybody right now is trying to figure out new ways. So I'm liking that. Like, I'm enjoying that too. It's quite interesting. I don't know how we're going to crack that, but we're on it.
I love how in entrepreneurship, the most innovative ideas come right from here. Popcorn and traveling on a virtual screen, I would love to do that just to experience it. And Sneha, with GWEN, I'm sure you meet a lot of people, have met a lot of people that have gone through so many different kind of experiences in the pandemic. And you've probably seen a lot of stories. And what insights have you gained from those?
I think there have been so many personal evolutions, so to say, with women, because I think, like one of you said earlier, there have been so many discoveries on what their true calling is. Maybe a new problem because of the pandemic that they could solve. I think a lot with children's activities have come up because the children are at home and the mothers are working, so they need to keep the children engaged. So a lot of things like that. And I think a lot of women have woken up to the fact that their dead-end jobs are truly dead-end, and they need to think of something and, have taken that risk to actually venture out and start something on their own. So I think that it's been really beautiful for them. But challenges, yeah. So I think Gayatri can speak better to that, especially because of the retail aspect of it. And but if I were to talk about it from a GWEN point of view, for me, I really missed the in-person events because the vibe is just so different, right? The energy you get from meeting people in person. So I had to take even all the education side of things online. So I started an online school. So, but then I started noticing that women still like to be at live events or in-person events, and it makes such a big difference. So I reluctantly started online networking events as well, because I just had to. I'm waiting for a chance to do something in person. Fingers crossed.
I'm really waiting to. Such a thing for people to come back and to learn newer ways. I would really love to know what are the kind of, I would love to read blogs and everything after all this pandemic, the kind of strategies that people come up with. And I will ask that question a little bit after this. I just wanted to know from Gayatri as well, your own personal experience, as Sneha had mentioned, with, your business being affected during the pandemic.
Yes. So, basically, when you talk about zero waste, it is about reuse. And the word reuse was very scary with the COVID around. People jumped on to the disposable lifestyle totally. There was just so much of paranoia around reusing, or, there was this intense scrutiny towards a package and how it is handled, how the delivery is coming, is the delivery person wearing a mask, and the entire sentiment, actually, I would say, more than the paranoia. I think the entire sentiment had shifted to that of, shock, and people were just prioritizing their own safety at that point in time, and saving the environment was nowhere on the list. So saving yourself was top priority, and understandably so. I think the entire market sentiment was like that, and that's how businesses like ours got affected. And I mean, it's totally understandable, and it was correct from the consumer point of view to be extra careful with the amount of fear that was there around the pandemic. But I could see the back end also, and I could see the artists, I could see the farmers, I could see the producers all sitting idle with absolutely no work. And it was a very difficult decision. I did try to push ahead and, try to get some more work for them as much as possible, but it was just not possible to crack that fear level. And you could not have gone and talked to people about saving the environment in a situation like that. So we just had to naturally, logically take a break. It was just about respecting the consumer sentiment at that point in time. We had left no choice.
And I heard that EcoSensar is restarting their operations now. So what was that like?
Yes, absolutely. So, we all had this, at least I had this doom feeling, okay, when, so last year when there was a lockdown, I didn't really take it that seriously. My upbringing is from Mumbai, and from Mumbai, in my childhood, I've seen a lot of these kind of disasters, natural disasters. We've seen riots, and we've seen the floods, and we've seen the people coming in from Latur during the earthquake. So kind of touched. So for me, I didn't really get the seriousness of the pandemic last year. And I said, yeah, this will also pass. Yeah, it's going to go. And when the lockdown ended, I restarted my operations. And for me, it was just another, down a low point in business, a natural low point in any business. But the second wave was too hard to digest. And that's when it really hit me. And because every time you try to come back, you have to put in a bit more of investment to restart, right? Especially with retail, there is infrastructure involved, there is employment and salaries involved. So you're investing a lot to start off with, and the returns are always 2 years later, 3 years later. So when the second wave hit and we had to shut down again, I was in a complete doomsday mode. And I said, this is the end, and I don't think I can restart this. And we were already talking about third wave. So I said, maybe this is not the right time, and I should move on, find something more meaningful. So while I still wanted to continue doing something for the society, something impactful, I started looking into corporate jobs for CSRs or NGO jobs and all of that. But, you realize that none of that actually calms you down. The more I started looking out for other opportunities, the more restless I became. I said, no, this is not it. No, this is not it. And there's no point in jumping into something which you're not ready for, and it doesn't let you sleep. I would say that's the plain truth. It just does not let you sleep. So that's when I took a call of waiting it out for another 2 months and restarting again. So here we are. We restarted last week, and we've set up our place with a new strategy, new employees with a better warehousing system. We're also trying to make the best use of technology, which brings down the costing of running a business. So I think I used the next 2 months to re-strategize, got in touch with a lot of mentors. I had a thinking time, and I knew that I had to do this again, and this is what I'm born for. This is what I need to do. Also, there were a few other zero waste businesses that had cropped up last year, and all of them shut down. And when I spoke to them, none of them intended to start. So, I can be audacity that I thought that maybe it's up to me to do this. It's nobody else is able to do it. Maybe I'm the one who was born to take this forward, probably. But that's what gave me the energy to restart, I would say.
Wow, I love that. But it did raise a question in my mind. What do you think it would have been like for the people who stopped their business and then didn't continue from there on? Because it seems like getting into entrepreneurship is very risky. So that does go back to the first question also, if there's something that someone needs when they're starting a business, they need to have like a fallback plan. And I think the pandemic has really shown that very unpredictable things happen. And the best that you can do is strategize in the beginning, and then, like Gayatri said, re-strategize.
Yes.
And I just wonder, like, what is that re-strategizing? What is the essential elements for that? How do you bounce back from something like a pandemic or something even worse, something personal in your business?
I would say the impact of the business, the passion or the intent of this business is what kept me going, right? So when we got onto the disposable kind of a lifestyle, somewhere I felt that it is even more necessary now for people to understand how to live a zero waste lifestyle. And I understand that I would still be continuing in losses for a few months for people to come on board or, even open up their minds to reading about it or understanding this. But that's the game, and the impact that you're looking for is what drives you, and nothing else matters. So when you re-strategize, you keep the impact in the center. You see, this is what I want to achieve, and this is what my circumstances are. So what do I do? Like I said, we started leveraging a lot of technology into our business to bring down the costs. For example, the logistics or even the inventory management, which was quite manual in the beginning. So we are now trying to use a lot of different aggregators and different kinds of I would say tools and apps to help us in the back end. We also gained a lot of sympathy from empathy, I would say, from many service providers who also came forward and on a pro bono basis and started supporting us. So I would say unless you reach out, you will not know what you can get. So probably the same set of people would have charged me, say, 50K pre-pandemic, but they are ready to support me now even at 10K because they know that you're doing it for a social impact. There's a social impact, the passion in you, the sincerity towards the impact is what lets you float and is what lets you get the support system around you. So even if you're a solopreneur, you're not really a solopreneur. You're definitely having at least 3 or 4 teams behind you who are outsourced, probably supporting you. So all that they see at the end of the day, especially for a social enterprise, is the sincerity towards the purpose of your business. If that is in place, then the universe comes around you. It does come around you. And I had incredible people supporting me right now on a pro bono basis, without whom I would not have been here.
To even be able to access a space like that where you get support, and I know GWEN provides that, a networking space for people to be able to support each other. And I know, Sneha, your work yourself, you have a lot of such stories of supporting women and supporting, especially women, I mean, to manage and to re-strategize the space, right? Like to rebalance all of this. So I think that just having a space like that and being able to create, so there's one end where you are, as an entrepreneur, as a group of people, you are creating an impact in the world and you're trying to solve social issues. But then on the other hand, you're also trying to create a space for people to meet each other and to know each other and to share the resources, to share resources and network. So I think that does bring another question in my mind, which is when you are running a business and your business is trying to solve a social issue, there are moments, and I'm sure there are many different ways you've all experienced this, but there are moments where what you're trying to achieve through the format of entrepreneurship, they come in opposition with each other, where your objectives and your principles are in complete contrast to what you can do in the market world, where money rules and social rules are just completely enemies. So if you have any insights on that, I would really love to hear. This is more of an open question because I want to hear a little bit from everybody because I know everyone has a very different kind of an experience with this.
Yeah, so for me, I actually started out as a non-profit. So I kind of struggled when I had to start charging for something. It didn't sit well with me because I came from a point of view of service, and that's what I was doing. So when I had to charge for something, it didn't work out. But I mean, we live in the real world, so I had to, because at least, to break even for technology use or for a venue and things like that. Yeah, so that's an aspect of it that was challenging for me.
A social issue, when you're trying to run a business with a social issue, I don't think quick and high returns should ever be your expectation. That's where if you start off with that, then you're going to be disappointed. You have to set your expectations right, and knowing that the returns are going to be low, the returns are going to be slow. And initially I started off with something where I was happy to be in no loss. Just if it just works out at the end of the day, I'm happy because the goal is achieved, the mission is achieved, and I have saved, say, 10,000 plastic covers. I have saved about 15,000 of disposables this month, and my mission is achieved. The mission is what is important rather than your earnings, I would say. It's important to keep your investments very conservative in the beginning, especially for a social issue. And Sneha always keeps telling me you have to keep educating your customers, education, spreading of awareness of this issue. It starts off from there, where you have to have your consumers unlearn a lot of things. And it's difficult because you have so many marketing bigwigs and all of these great big companies who bombard the consumers with such innovative and attractive promos. It's difficult to cut through that, but you have to keep going. Perseverance is what I would say, and sincerity to the purpose. I think that has greatly helped me in retaining whatever customers I had last year.
Good insight. Yes, Preetha, did you want to say something?
Yeah, so the point I wanted to add is that about my business is that we are in the field of educating people on personal finance, right? So one of the questions we get asked is, and we call ourselves a impact venture, a social venture. So one of the things we get asked is, so you're teaching the the marginalized community, and we say no, we are open to anybody and everyone, and we are going to, when we say we go to corporates, the typical question is, why would you want to go there? I mean, there are so many others who need to know. Because the problem which is there, many people are trying to address the problem of the marginalized community because it's a very obvious problem, while as the one where most of us who are from, say, an urban area, or who've got a job, or who have a little financial backing in the family, the kind of problems that we are in may actually sometimes be worse because we are so taken in by all those loans and EMIs and, all kinds of things. So many times it could be not necessarily, I'm saying it, but many times it leads to many mental issues and many relationship issues and many such things, because there was nobody addressing that also. So then when we explain this concept, saying that, yes, of course, you do need to help the most needy, but that doesn't take away from the fact that there are other people who require it. And we do get asked that question even now, actually. So, so we are trying to address it in a very, you can say, neutral manner, saying everybody needs it, basically.
That's very similar to re-educating your consumers and your audience.
Yeah.
That's really beautiful. And I think that's a very beautiful insight. To kind of end this section, and lastly, we are running slightly over time, but I have this question that I have been waiting to ask. We know that for a women entrepreneur, the myth is that, or you can bust this myth if it is, that as a mother, you cannot do entrepreneurship. What is it like balancing your work life and your family life as a mother entrepreneur?
Okay, I'll go for, Sneha, you go ahead, Sneha.
No, go ahead, Preetha, that's fine.
Okay, so I'll say one thing is that I started this more as actually a bit of a push. I've got 2 boys, and a little bit of a push came from my kids also when they saw me, speaking to people about this topic. And I hadn't started my venture as yet, but I was like, I think they got pained of me talking to them at the dinner table about, finance, and constantly everything going around personal finance and how we should do this, we should do that. There's a lot of things I think I was just nonstop speaking about. So maybe they just said, go do something and leave us alone types. So there was a little bit of push from the kids too. So, and it had to come at, obviously there is a little bit of balancing that you do, but they were older in all fairness. They're not like small kids, which a lot of people take much more to work with. But being older, I could do that. And I could, actually step out when you wanted, you have all those little comforts of not having to look for somebody to stay at home and things like that. So it wasn't a tough thing, but yes, it does take because your mind has to be 365 on your work, right? So it does take a toll in terms of, when you get back home or when you miss something, and then you're like, I would have never missed this, how come, and things. And then you just say, it's fine, it's okay. So I guess it takes a lot of self-talking to tell yourself it's fine. I mean, you can do both, or do what you want types.
Yeah, and to be able to just say, I forgive you, and continue on with that. That's beautiful. Yes, Neha?
Yeah, so what I was going to say is that it's such a big determination game, because especially with the pandemic, right? At the end of the day, if I want to sit down with some writing or some sort of work, planning, whatever it is, imagine after the whole day, even I have 2 boys, and they're 8 and 5. So you can imagine how challenged I am. So it's crazy to contain that energy that they have in the house till they're allowed to go down and play. And it's, I don't know, it's been a very big determination game for me to sit down with my work. And it has been, I've been a big stickler for time, gone by the clock for everything from the time they were born. And I still do. And if I don't, they keep me in check. So that's what it's come to. So because of that, I think I have some sort of order in my life. And now they know when they cannot mess with my time or my window of, so-called me time, even during the week. And I've always taken Saturdays for myself, pandemic or not. So they know that. So yeah, I mean, I guess you kind of figure out a balance according to what's important for you. Because at the end of the day, we realize that, even though, like Preetha was saying, you might have a certain guilt that, okay, you were not there for something, but I've always been at home with them. So working from home and everything. But then even when I'm not around on a Saturday and if I've missed something, then there's that guilt that, oh, I didn't spend that time with them. But then when it comes to the middle of the week, or I'm just, waiting for that Saturday to come along, I'm like, yeah, I'm human too. I have my interests. I have, my friends to meet. I need to, for me, that's like a reset button, getting that one day to myself. So that I can go through the rest of the week again until the next Saturday. So I guess we figure out ways according to, what works in our lives and what doesn't.
And I can just hear how everyone has just been tapping into their divine feminine qualities of forgiveness, of taking time for yourself and caring and nurturing. I find that really beautiful.
I had like sort of an opposite sort of experience because I work with my mother. So there are no boundaries, basically. Like how Sneha was saying, she needs a day out. I don't get any day out. My mother is also my boss, and she'll just come and sit on me and be like, can't we just do it right now? And I'm like, no, like just because we live together doesn't mean that there'll be no boundaries to work. So yeah, it's not always like it is like there are other boundaries to be set as well, where parents should understand that there is life and work balance that should, and she's here listening to this. So yep.
Wow. Hello, Renuka. So happy to have you. All right. That brings us to the end of our curated questions round. I would talk forever because the insights I've been writing so much. Let's move on to a slightly more fun round. As I said, this is my favorite round. It's the agree or disagree round. Like I said, I will ask you a set of questions. All you have to do is agree or disagree. This is disagree and this is agree. Let's get right started. Yeah. First question. Business and social impact can't go together. Agree or disagree? Full-time entrepreneurship is as risky and stressful as a corporate job. Interesting. It's necessary to compare genders in entrepreneurship.
Do you repeat that question, Nitika?
It's necessary to compare genders in entrepreneurship. Interesting. The best time to start your entrepreneurial journey is when you are young. I like that. Creativity and productivity are separate. It's hard to be productive and creative. Interesting. I want to dive into everyone's opinions. Every entrepreneur needs to start their morning right. Interesting. To create an impact, you have to scale. I feel like I knew Gayatri's answer before itself. Entrepreneurship is for everyone. I can't see your answer, Preetha. Okay. Interesting. Once you start your business, you can just sit back and enjoy the profits. The capitalistic, consumerist society we live in right now is in self-destruct mode. Interesting. Success happens through collaboration and community. The first place you need to invest in is yourself. Such a unanimous answer. Lastly, the environment dictates how successful you can be as an entrepreneur. Interesting. Wow. Thank you so much for that. That was that round, the agree and disagree round. Next, for this round, it's the lightning question round. We'll have everyone's mics open. If the answers are open to anybody, I'll ask you the question. Just jump right ahead and answer. If we can have everyone unmuted. Awesome. All right. First question. Who is your entrepreneur role model? Who's someone you look up to?
Oprah Winfrey.
Steve Jobs.
There are many actually. It's tough to.
If you could name one or two.
Yeah, the two named by Sneha and Gayatri also. Yeah, so many. There are people in my life also who are, it's not just people, I mean, not famous people necessarily, but family and friends.
Yes, mostly family and friends for me too. Successful women, business owners. My mom definitely. I do look up to her a lot.
Wow. What would you say is your strongest divine feminine quality?
Compassion.
Perseverance.
Can I say all of the above?
Absolutely. That's a completely accepted answer. We love that.
Yeah, I think you need a little bit of everything, right?
Yes.
So it's very difficult to put one thing. But in my field, I would say simplicity of communication.
Wow.
I would say forgiveness.
Wow. And at Mahanavratri, this is what we do. We embody a little bit of all of them. If there's one advice you could give to another woman entrepreneur in India, what would it be?
Be yourself, get yourself to the business, because you have to be true to yourself. Only then you can actually translate it to work, and which is very important.
Yeah, mine is a version of that, actually. I would say don't let your business define you. Rather, who you are should define your business.
I'd say, go for it, Gayatri.
Go ahead, Kripi, sorry.
I would say you shouldn't let go of your femininity to fit into the boys' club, because that's not what success is about at all. Like, you can be you.
Yes, I would say no self-doubt. Just don't have any doubts, and don't set your own tough barriers in terms of restricting barriers for yourself in terms of cultural expectations, social expectations. I think just be you, I think, would be the most common factor here, right?
I feel this question has really reflected on a lot of the conversation that we have had till now in the last 45 minutes. And that's really beautiful. Then, what are the self-care practices you use to refresh, rejuvenate, and relax?
Travel,
Connect to nature.
sleep,
Yeah.
sleep.
Spend time with kids.
Wow.
Meditate.
Wow. Lovely. What are your top 3 productivity hacks? This is my favorite question. Yes.
Take a nap. Take a nap. When you're too stressed, just go take a nap and come back. And top 3, I think to-do list priority wise, and stop multitasking. I think multitasking is not a good idea. I think, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. What, really?
Yes. I love this question because I take little notes from everyone. What about the rest of everyone here?
Yeah, I say planning is important. And one more thing I found is learn to say no. There are many times when, this is after, a lot of experience, we said you can't take on too much just because, somebody is expecting it and things like that. As women, I think somewhere we tend to do that also as a part of your upbringing also. Somewhere it's there in your nature that you don't say no to people, you just do all the multitasking that we were just speaking about. So just saying, to cut down on that, I won't say take it out totally, but yeah, I think cutting down on that by saying no is a good idea.
For me, I guess, like I had mentioned earlier, gathering enough knowledge of the industry was the most effective hack I could ever have. So, I keep reading, and in my free time, that's all that I do. I keep trying to understand, because there are so many different aspects to a particular business. You can never just know enough, is what I feel.
It's like constantly working your mind and keeping yourself really up to
Yes.
date.
Yes.
Sneha, you?
Yeah, for me, it's getting organized and staying creative. Yeah.
I love that. Beautiful. I really love that. Next, what was your biggest learning in your entrepreneurship journey?
That it's so transformative. It's like what they say about parenting, that it's a personal transformation. That's exactly how I feel about entrepreneurship too.
My case, it is I can do something, just give me the confidence that coming from a non-finance background today, I have people who listen to what I have to say is like a big deal for me. So I think it is that, okay, I can do it. And then that gives you the thing that, yes, you can do something else. Of course, you don't want to do everything, but when you want to, you can actually do it.
Yeah, I would agree with Preetha. I think I was exactly going to say the same thing. It's just about knowing your own capability. You would have not known 10 years ago, I would not have known that I could be an entrepreneur doing a zero waste business, something with the social impact and all of that. But yeah, you kind of rediscover yourself in a new way.
For me, I think I realized that you can define your own success. Like usually when you're in a corporate ladder, there are set milestones that you have to, and that's how you're like, the world decides whether you're successful or not. With entrepreneurship, I feel that you can define your own success. You can have your smaller missions, you can meet them, and then you can just be satisfied with that and happy.
Oh. What was your biggest setback then in your entrepreneurship journey?
Pandemic.
I think that change of mindset that happened in that decade for my target audience, I think that really shook me that, oh my God, I have to change my product. I have to change everything now. That I think was a good wake up call.
I won't say pandemic, I thought was a setback because we believed that, a one-to-one connect with the audience was what was actually keeping our work going when we were doing in-person sessions earlier. We had to adapt. And when we adapted, we actually found that this was like amazing because we would have no one would have paid us to go to US to, conduct these sessions. But today we've done sessions across various borders. So it turned out to be good. What we thought was a setback, actually we adapted, changed a couple of things, and even the pricing we had to change, of course, because of everyone struggling around. But yeah, I mean, we've reached out to so many more people than we would have if we hadn't adapted to the webinar, and all thanks to the pandemic, because it also made people comfortable with the Zoom and things like that, right? So before that, you would have had a lot of people who've never used Zoom saying, oh, I don't know what it is. And they probably want to attend a finance session, specifically saying it'll be so boring and things like that. But today they're saying, okay, let's just check it out. We can always drop out any minute. So they, they kind of just log in and see. So there is a positive which came out of the pandemic.
For me, it was working with limited funds. And being a perfectionist, outsourcing has always been a challenge for me.
That's so interesting. Then lastly, what is your on-the-go method of changing your emotional state from something negative to more stable and positive?
Focus on the impact, focus on the result that you're trying to achieve. And you just have to head there. That's what keeps you straight-headed most times, I would say.
So it's like recentering your vision constantly.
Yes.
Writing or meeting friends. So just disconnect from everything in some form and then come back to it.
Yeah.
I've got two partners, so we kind of, we have a few things that we try to do as, to keep keep us together, or to keep our to focus on what you're doing, because we are three different people with three different backgrounds, three different kind of families and things like that. So there is one thing, a couple of things that we do for that one thing, which is our organization and our vision. So that kind of, we use that to center it, similar to what Gayatri just said, that you're focusing on what is important for the organization or for your customers. Rather, I'll put it as the organization as the most important thing, because that's where your goal is, right? So, yeah.
I think any sort of that recalibration that I can do through, whether it's meditation or whether it's chanting, whether it's just, taking a nice nap. I think that's what brings me back to, the track, on the track.
Wow, that's really insightful. That brings us to the end of the lightning round. I would now like to call Hina, because there are some questions in the chat box addressed to you, and it would be amazing if you got your insights on those as well. Hina?
Yes. Let me just come in. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. Everybody's been enjoying the talk so much and learning so many new things. And the audience has asked several questions. So let me just go ahead. I'll address it to one person. And then if anybody has anything to add on, you can, hop in anytime. So let me start with Sneha. How do you keep going as a young entrepreneur or freelancer every day when distractions come along, especially in the kind of FOMO world that we live in, where you want to do everything?
Yeah, interesting question. I think, one thing is to know exactly what you want to do. So then no matter what you see around, it shouldn't be tempting enough for you to want to pursue if you are so sure of what your goals are. But if you're like me and you're multi-passionate and you're curious and you like to learn new things, maybe just look at it as a hobby, or just something to learn. You don't have to make everything into a business. You can have one business, or you can have multiple depending on the kind of time you have. But you don't have to make everything into a business. I think Steve Jobs himself said that he wakes up every morning. He used to wake up every morning with a million ideas. And he said he couldn't run with everything, of course. He said, just because you can, it doesn't mean you have to. So, just if you're curious, learn some. And if you want to learn something, learn it. So at least you have the satisfaction that you acquired a new skill, or that you did pursue that interest. And then you'll figure out that that's probably all it was.
Oh, thank you. That was, I think, a great insight on that question. Next, I'd like to ask Kripi, how do you arrive at your niche? As you had talked about, we need to have a niche to start a business. So how do you arrive at that?
I think what I felt through my experience was experiencing all of your product. Like whatever you're trying to sell to your customer, first experience it completely on your own, and then figure out what you would like and what you wouldn't like. And that really helps you. Like the more you like, especially for us, it was travel. So every time we traveled, we tried to figure out what is that one extra thing. Read your market, study your target audience, get into their brains completely. Once you do that, then you'll probably be able to understand what they require, what they think is good, what they don't think is, something that would interest them, and then create something around that. And obviously, experiencing your own product. I think the most people who work for MNCs and they want to come in, like my mom is also a teacher for travel and tourism. So when her students go out to other companies and want to come and join us, all I ask them is, whatever you've sold in these many years of work experience, how much of it have you gone on yourself? Like you're selling travel packages, how many countries, how many states, whatever have you visited? And it's hardly 1 or 2%. Like the travel companies are not even investing in their own in their own employees to, even see. So they're basically just rut-towing everything that has to be sold. So that is where you can't create that. So you'll have to go through it on your own, and then probably figure out what are the things that you would want in a product, and then see, what else is there in the market, and figure out, okay, this is not there, and this is something that I can provide.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much, Kripi. I think that is really insightful tip from you to experience everything on our own first, find out what our niche is. Next, I'd like to ask Gayatri, knowing what you know now, is there anything you would have done differently when you first started out?
No, I don't think so, because when you take a particular decision, you take it based on the circumstances of that time. And it's difficult to really predict the future. You can have a sort of a forecast, but I would say that whatever decision you take today is based on the capacity that the universe has given you in understanding the situation, understanding yourself and your own abilities. So, of course, I could have learned a lot. Probably, I can take learnings from the past, but I don't regret what I did at that time. So I'm quite confident that I did it because I had 1, 2, 3, 4 reasons to support it. So that's how calculative and an intense decision that you need to make when you're in a business to be doubly sure of what you do.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. Next, I'd like to ask Preetha. This is my own question because I also want to become an entrepreneur, and I don't have any financial background. So, how do you think for a person like me who wants to start and doesn't have any financial know-how, is it important to study something or learn about business in formal setting like a college, or taking some courses, or you just look at what you need and just learn on the go? How do you approach that?
It's not a one it's not like one thing you need to do kind of a thing, Hina. So there is yes, of course, you need to go online and do a little basic learning, because it gives you a structure. So that at least tells you what all you need to learn as an entrepreneur. Second thing is more than that, speaking to many people who are entrepreneurs, I think is a good idea. Speaking to someone who can be your mentor, for example, who knows you a little bit, and who can be even objective or understands the industry. Like our mentor is someone who's in the industry, so he would tell us, not really what works, but how things are, so that we, kind of work around that. And I think, being a part of a startup also, you can pick up a lot of things. Biggest thing is, don't be in a hurry. I mean, you do something 6 months later, it's going nowhere. So if you invest, that's the kind of time you need to invest. That's the kind of time that is called investing in yourself, actually, right? Because you are learning the ropes instead of just going and just trying, the ups and downs generally in business. But I think it's good to invest yourself with a lot of conversations more than anything. Because I've also gone through a formal, women entrepreneur course in IIM. But what I found is, while it did give you a structure, what really maximum learning is on the job. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. That was really, really helpful. And I'll keep that in mind as I go. And next question is open for all panelists. And I want to ask about advice that you would give to someone trying to become an entrepreneur. A new one.
I think we've summed up. I mean, everything we spoke sums that up, actually. All the points are there. First start by investing in yourself, then go on to have a mentor or a partner, and, being networking is also important, and being thick-skinned, like Gayatri was saying, being thick-skinned is necessary. Being resilient so that your ups and downs you can face. So it's I guess, a lot of things put together. That would be my response.
And just take the plunge.
Yeah.
And another question, which I think like when we were doing the agree or disagree round, 3 out of 4 panelists, you said that being an entrepreneur isn't for everybody. So like one of the audience members wants to know, like, why isn't it for everyone?
Again, I think, everything we talked about today kind of sums up that. Yeah, I mean, you need so much, right? From mental strength, determination, all of those things, being able to handle your emotions, accept failure, don't take it personally, learn to do amazing things on a shoestring budget. There's just so much. I mean, it's not like just sitting at a desk and doing the work that's been given to you or trying to prove yourself within an organization. That's also difficult. I'm not dismissing that at all. But here, it's just that maybe 10 times over. Because you're your own boss as well. So if you are going to be your own boss, imagine if you're also going to be your own marketing person, salesperson, customer service representative, accountant, and everything. You're going to be at loggerheads with yourself. So you need to have what it takes.
I'll add one more point to what Sneha said, again, coming from the financial wellness aspect. I think you first need to ensure if you are, say, for example, the breadwinner in the family, or if the family is not in a very good way financially. So taking the plunge at the wrong time can just make things worse, and then it can be very discouraging. So I think, like, say, for example, we hear people in our sessions who are working, who are keen on, maybe after 6 months taking a break and then trying out something because they have a good idea and things like that. Only thing we tell them is ensure you have some financial backup. How would you survive? Because your dreams can go for a toss if your finances are not in place. Your family can, you could have family problems because of that. And we hear a few stories around that too, because of, many, many things happens, right? There's no money. It's very difficult to do anything. Yeah. So ensure you have that before you start.
Yeah, anybody else would like to add anything? Otherwise, we are done with the question answer. I think that's all we had. Thank you so much. I think.
Can I ask Kripi something? She, I think, disagreed to starting out as an entrepreneur when you're young, right? I want to know why you said that. I know it's from personal experience, probably, but why?
I think the question was that you should only start when young. And I don't think so that's really required. In fact, when you gain certain knowledge, like at least for me, I would say I was kind of pulled into it without like me wanting it to be. Like I had to be there. She needed somebody. I was there and I just got into it. So that's also why I think entrepreneurship is not for everybody. Every time we would have any disagreement, my thing would be, you are the entrepreneur. You're pulling me into it. I don't want to be an entrepreneur, but now I am an entrepreneur here. But starting young, I just felt like if I gained some experience, say in the travel industry, if I was planning to start a travel company, that would have actually done me some good. So starting young doesn't mean that you'll have that kind of worldview in a way, or like knowledge. Like the more you grow in whatever industry that you are planning to work in, I feel that's only going to come to your this thing. And again, for your resilience and for your persistence. As a kid, I think I would be really frustrated if things don't work out and lose it at every 2 minutes. Now over the years, I've been able to ground myself, find my practices where if things go wrong, I don't lose my shit completely, and I know how to get back. So that way, I feel, yes, of course, a lot of old people would be like, if I started young, I would have reached there. But it's not always that. I think when we are young, we just think, hum sab kuch conquer kar lenge, but it's not that easy at all. And also with things that as serious as when you have other employees under you, you can't really take that as a joke. Yes, it can be you get a initial investment and then you know what to do for a couple of months, but you need to have a plan. And I know like now entrepreneurship is like completely different from what it was 10 years ago when we were starting it, where now you get massive fundings for your like, projects and all of that. So now it's very different. But in my case, I would say that, yeah, the more years that you grow, the more you grow, you would have more experience and more sort of mental health and all of those things in place to like go ahead and take up such a risk.
Yeah, I guess that explains why most people start businesses in their 30s and 40s.
Yeah, I mean, I would do like think so too.
Yeah.
I have a friend who is currently probably 23, and he started his entrepreneurship journey when he was in college. He's in law school, so he has 5 years. But I see it in him how he lacks that kind of worldview, and how he's learning every event, every step he learns like it's like a huge opening for him. So for me personally, I feel that it's half and half. I don't understand which one would be a better answer. Maybe one day when I'm 50, I'll be able to decide. But until then, I am divided on this, because on one hand, there's obviously the opinion that you should start young. On the other hand, there's the opinion that when you're young, it's much tougher for you because you don't know anything in general. So, yeah.
Yeah.
If you start with a few,
one thing,
sorry.
people don't really take you serious. I'm so sorry. People don't really take you serious when you're young and you're a woman. People just don't. I had to power dress all throughout my 20s and tell these parents that I have a husband who's managing my kids. After that, they took me seriously, apparently. But if they got to know my real age and if I was wearing the same clothes as the students, they wouldn't just take me seriously at all. They would just be like, oh, you look just like our daughter. How will you take care of them? Like, what does that even mean? I'm doing my work. So yeah, it's not always easy too as a young person to be taken seriously.
Yeah, but Ritika, what you were saying, I think it's a mix, because see, there are skills that I learned from my corporate jobs that I use even today. So I think it's a mix. It does make sense to get some corporate exposure, at least a couple of years in, and then, because you do meet a lot of people who could become potential mentors even down the line. Yeah. And then, maybe mid-20s is not bad to start your entrepreneurship journey.
I think that's a good resolution to this, mid-20s.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like the mental strength, as you were talking about, that really comes in a little later. Like in my 30s, I think now I have much more mental strength than I had, supposedly in my 20s. I have learned so many things which I didn't have then, and I'm much more confident in my own self. So that self-confidence builds with age, and I would say like that helps you to sort of set up your own business venture. But thank you all so much, and those are all the questions we had. So I'll hand it over back to Ritika.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. That brings us to the end of our panel discussion. If there's anything you'd want to say, any last bits, I do feel that we feel very complete with our conversation. But if there's any last bits that you want to say, maybe to someone on YouTube watching this video, please go right ahead.
I'd like to say something to all the young mothers. So if you are starting a business before your child is even one, great idea, because it's good to have that distraction, to have some sense of purpose that is entirely for yourself. But my advice is to let your business grow with your children so that you are not abandoning one for the other and not always on this guilt mode. Because I know a lot of women want to leave the corporate world to become entrepreneurs, to be able to get that flexibility for parenting and all of that as well, because they want to be hands-on mothers. But this is my sincere advice, because I see so much of outsourced parenting these days and it breaks my heart. If you can do that and not, think that entrepreneurship is a hurried game where you have to get on a rat race and get to that 7-figure, all that is a very westernized, approach to business. It's being popularized a lot on Instagram these days. I see lots and lots of workshops saying, get into the 7-figure club, get into the 6-figure club. And I'm like, why? Do something meaningful, do something that makes you happy, intentional as well. And then it can be a great balance. So when your child does start a full-time school, you can spend more hours And as you get more and more free and they become independent, you can run your business full time. So that's my sincere advice.
I'll add about finance as usual is that all the ladies, especially the ladies, please know your financial standing, rights, whatever you call it, everything around. I mean, you can't be independent without having money, right? Or without having some awareness around money. So please ensure that you have awareness around personal finance as well as business also. And both are not too different.
I was really hoping, Preetha, you would say something about that today. I'm very glad that you did.
That's the only thing I'd speak about, Ritika. So.
Wonderful, wonderful. If there's anyone else?
I would say that, like my thing has always been about focus. So I would say if you're trying to start out as an entrepreneur, even on your journey, you always start, remember why you started it. And that will basically take you through all the ups and downs. So there will be times when you feel like you shouldn't have done it, or you've gone wrong, or, maybe it's not for me. I think you should always give yourself another chance, and unless you have exhausted all your options, don't give up on yourself. Always remember why you started it. An entrepreneur always becomes an entrepreneur out of need or out of passion. You don't really jump into entrepreneurship as a hobby, so they're very different. Hobby is different and entrepreneurship is very different. So that clarity has to be there, and remember why you started. That will take you through.
I think Sneha mostly summed up everything that I wanted to say too. One thing that I would like to say to all the women is claim your space. It's not a boys' club. Again, we need to just be there and just show up and do our bit and learn, and absolutely be open to learning. Like how Gayatri was saying, just ask stupid questions, just absolutely be vulnerable there, because that's where all the learning will happen. The amount of people who have tried to tell me how to run my business, I mean, if I was plucking hair, I would be bald by now. Like every man that I've ever told that I run a company, they will come and teach me how to do it better. And I'm like, okay, thank you. So it's okay, let them be, but you claim your space. Whatever you want to do, whatever you wish to make that little difference, if it's small, if it's huge, just please do it, because it's required. If it's come up in your mind, if that's what you desire to do, please do it. There will be people who will walk in. There will be resources. Everything will just fall into place once you start. And resilience, of course, resilience. Thank you so much.
Wow. And indeed, there's a comment that says, in awe of these powerful women, me too, completely, in complete awe and in so much respect and admiration. There's so much that I learned, and I'm sure everyone here learned a tremendous amount. The value that we received from today is unparalleled. Thank you guys so much for joining. To everyone who's watching this on YouTube, in the future when we upload this, thank you so much for joining in. Please like, subscribe, share, and comment what you think about everything that we've spoken about till now. This is so important to add to this conversation, and it's so important to keep going because the pandemic has made things very for a lot of people. And also optimistic, right? So add to the conversation, share this around, and join in for the next one. And you might also be on this end where I will be talking to you and we'll be on YouTube one day. Let's spread the word. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us over. It was great.
And to all of our panelists over here, to all of our participants over here, tomorrow will be the first day of the Mahanavratri journey. We'll have many more panels coming up. One is on 9th, more in the calendar. We have our daily routine. By the night, you will receive the schedule for tomorrow as well. So let's get ready to jump into Mahanavratri. This was the first day. It was a precursor to what we have lined up for the next 9 days. I'm so happy to have you all. Thank you.